Every little thing is gonna be alright. Yeah, Sammy.
Yeah, that's Kempy singing along there. Welcome into Running It Straight, a very special edition here. Live from Three Wise Birds Portside Bar in Napier ahead of a big game tomorrow evening at McLean Park between the One New Zealand Warriors and the Brisbane Broncos, a depleted Brisbane Broncos as well. We have got a lot to come between now and 5 o'clock. We'll talk you through it very, very shortly. But firstly, Kempy, we have to mention the venue that we're currently sitting in, Three Wise Birds Portside Bar here. We got Charlie and Jack who have put us up, and I actually got the tour earlier this afternoon. Not only do you have a beautiful bar area here with your TVs, your memorabilia, a great place to watch sport, but if you just sort of hook around to the right there, you've got your pool room, your dart room, a couple of pool tables mixing amongst it. It is a sports lover's dream.
It is the sports bar of the Hawke's Bay, and I don't know if there's ever one other sports bar that looks as good as the Three Wise Birds with Jack and Charlie that have actually put this on for us today. And of course, right next door, and this is how good it is. Right next door, that's where the Warriors are staying.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you've got all the Warriors staff here at the moment. It's what a day.
They actually they found out we were broadcasting and decided they would just put up the boys next door just to make it nice and easy for us. So lots to come between now and 5 o'clock. You can text, of course, at any point. 8833. We'd love to get your thoughts. 0800 150 811 if you want to jump on the phones. Most importantly, if you're in Napier, you're driving around having a listen, just stop on by. Come grab a drink. There are a few of the Warriors guys here. We actually have Kevin Campion, who's getting a beer right now. He's actually going to jump on very, very shortly. Gorden Tallis, the former Broncos and Queensland legend, he's going to jump on the line, as well as Brent Tate. Of course, he played for both teams in the centre position and Queensland as well. And then after 4 o'clock, I should say, we're going to get to Awen Guttenbeil. Plenty of interaction as well. We're going to run quiz segments. We're also looking for the top 5 Warriors-Broncos moments in history. And we're also going to pick up on a question that Charlie asked us on Wednesday, one of the texters on 8833. He wants us to pick our 17 in the NRL based on form as it stands. So me and Kemp are going to do that throughout the show as well between now and 5 o'clock. So text through your memories of Broncos Warriors, what your favourite memory has been over the years. It took us a good long while to beat them for the first time, Kempy. That might be up there on some people's lists. There are plenty of other monumental moments as well. And let us know how you think about the game tomorrow night. Of course, we're building up towards that at McLean Park. We will have build up tomorrow before our live commentary. But let us know what you're thinking. Luke Metcalf, he gets his debut in the halves for the Warriors. The Broncos without a lot of frontline men. And, you know, Kempy, I love a stat, and I was going through all my stats last night, and it's funny because the stats almost go out the window when you don't have Payne Haas, Reece Walsh, Paddy Carrigan, all the punch in the middle, all of the spark of the back line goes out the window when those guys aren't there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they have got 5 of the Origin players out, but look, I don't think that we take any of that into account when we got a team that's coming off a bye. They really know how important this game is tomorrow night against a Brisbane Broncos side. And in the past, you've seen the baby Broncos actually come out and do what teams probably didn't think they could do, which was come out and win. And that's a real concern for me, is that hopefully the Warrior boys, they know that this game is really important. They've got an opportunity to actually go and get 2 points, and that they dominate right from the beginning of the game. Adam Reynolds is going to play a big part in the game. Don't get me wrong there, Sammy.
Yep.
You know, you've got Adam Reynolds on a side. He's still going to lead them around the pitch. His kicking game is second to none. And Sean Johnson's kicking game this year has been at the top of the game. So, all in all, coming down to the Hawke's Bay today, seeing what we've got on here, we've just had Richie Barnett walk into the bar as well. It's full of people here that actually have come down and want to support Hawke's Bay. Of course, with all that trauma that has happened down here through the floods.
Yep.
And we've got this opportunity to bring the Broncos, who are sitting top of the table, along with the Warriors, who are sitting right next to only 2 points out of the top 4. Mate, why wouldn't you be excited about coming to the Hawke's Bay?
And I'll tell you what, Kempy, you got booked on the private jet to come down solo. I got put in the car in the rental. But I actually am really glad I did it, Kempy, and I'll tell you why. I was taking the staff just before 3 o'clock, had to drive through the Esk Valley, and just seeing the damage and destruction of that region live, up close, as opposed to on it nearly brings a tear to your eye. It's sort of that the region has been that devastated. There are trees everywhere. There is silt about a metre high. There are houses completely destroyed, bridges washed away, wineries gone. and you realise that, the timing of the game almost couldn't be more perfect. It's a break for the region. It's a chance to come together and support a team. It's a sellout tomorrow night and support a team that's flying high and doing a fantastic job. So, look, really looking forward to it. It's going to be an absolute cracker. And it's a cracker at the moment out in Napier. It's a sunny day.
Yeah, and I had a mate, as soon as I jumped off the plane, phoned me. Josh, he's running a I Am Hope Day on the back of this Warriors game with a segment tomorrow at one of the gyms there, putting on a fitness I Am Hope program. So big shout out to Josh who's doing that as well. But yeah, the weather's been everything is lining up. And talking about you driving down, I'll tell you what, from the air, and I got told this, Craig Innes was at the airport, famous All Black, and me and him played together a number of times at Leeds, and I'm talking to Posty on the way down, and he said, mate, wait till you see it from the sky. And what I can say, if I can explain, if anyone who hasn't flown into the Hawke's Bay recently, is it's like a scatter bomb attack on our hills. There's just so much devastation out there, and I can really sort of understand what they were going through at the moment when you come down and you view it first up. But this is all about celebrating the Warriors and the Broncos coming to town. Obviously, running it straight today is about giving our listeners a chance to listen to some iconic figures. Kevin Campion, great to catch up with him. He's also, keep an eye out for that, because on our podcast tomorrow, me and Swinks are going to be doing an hour session with him here.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
At Three Little Birds to put on our podcast channel. Talk like fly on the wall stuff about things except football. And, of course, you've got, the greats like Awen Guttenbeil, Monty Beetham, Richie Barnett, and the Mad Butcher, who made sure that he made himself known when I got into the airport. There's a lot of people down here that's come to support. So, mate, it's shaping up, Sammy. I just hate to say it. One of the biggest problems we probably have to talk about is the preparation being good enough? You know what I mean? Where do they go to? You can't write off a Broncos side every time around Origin. Probably, although they lose a lot of players, probably the only team through Origin time that knows how to handle Origin, and that's the question I want to ask Campo.
Yeah, it's a great question, and well, you can ask Gordy and Brent Tate as well, because they obviously took off to Origin. How do they feel their sides handled it when they were away? Here's a bit of a trivia for you, Kemp. I was studying up last night. How many times do you think the Warriors have played the Broncos in an Origin period where they've lost players because of Origin, as opposed to like backing up or resting guys?
Oh, not many.
No,
not many. Like, I've been involved in a few, and we had the Broncos full side.
I tell you, it's two.
I was going to say.
Only ever played them twice when they haven't had their full strength side because of an Origin.
How have we gone?
56-18 back in 2013. You might remember that one, the largest ever win from the Warriors over the Broncos at Suncorp. The other one was in 2017 where we got a win against them as well. So 2 wins in those periods, which shows that the Warriors do, and we know that the Warriors do respond well during the Origin period because we don't lose anyone. So, look, it's going to be very, very interesting. Gorden Tallis, we're going to get him on the line very, very shortly. So what we're going to do is going to take a break here. Keep your texts coming in on 8833. Already seen a couple of memories of Warriors-Broncos games gone by. Keep those coming in, but we will take a short break here, and hopefully we'll have the legend, former Queensland and Broncos prop, Gorden Tallis, on the line after this. Now, Kempy, I can't think of anything better than combining one of the greatest moments of Origin, Gorden Tallis lassoing the man across the touchline, with Rabs Warren with some drum and bass. I mean, someone's done some brilliant work there. I don't know who it is. Maybe it was you and your part-time job.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Gordy would love it too, because he's been in New Zealand enough time listening to our drum and bass, and he'll be listening to that thinking, what's going on with these blokes down in New Zealand? Well,
let's bring him in, shall we? Gorden Tallis, of course, the former Brisbane Broncos legend, the former Queensland legend as well. He's now with Fox Sports. He's kindly given us a few minutes of his time on the line now. Gordy, welcome in.
Hey, guys. How you going?
Very well, mate. You ever heard that little remix there featuring Ray Warren and yourself?
Yeah, someone made it up, I think, maybe beginning of last year, and it sort of was hitting the airwaves over here, and It's got a few other names. I think there's a Denny Badiris moment and a few others, but that sued by Tallis is sort of the chorus, which... well, do you know what? It's funny because you can walk into a pub now and all those young 19-year-olds that had no idea who I was, that weren't even born when I was playing, sort of know who I am now because I had to Google who Tallis was. So.
Yeah, who would have thought that went so well with a drum and bass beat in the background? It's great to have you on, Gordy, mate. We're here in Napier. There's a lot of excitement building for tomorrow evening, of course, the Warriors v Broncos. And throughout the show, we're actually asking the listeners to send in their best memories of Warriors-Broncos matches and times gone by. And I'm not going to ask you to pick up a specific one.
It's got to be number one. It's got to be the first ever game. Yeah, absolutely. Blakey and all the boys from, like having New Zealand join the rugby league. They run out. I think it was DB Bitter on the front of their jersey. That was huge. I think that's a great moment. And, moving forward, and they've played in a couple of grand finals. They haven't won one yet. But the pathways of rugby league, they didn't have to come and move over here like Olsen Filipana did to go play for the Bulldogs. They can stay at home and represent their people, their culture, and their fans. And I'd have to say the first ever game. That's the one that sticks out in my mind. And the other one, obviously, I don't think I've ever played an easy game against the Warriors, believe it or not. So they've always been pretty tough, and I think they love playing the Broncos as well.
Hey, Gordy, there's a clip that they play all the time down here, and you've played with both of them, Campo and Shane Webke, when they look at each other and square up. Like, what did you say to Shane Webke when Campo got him?
Well, Campo, the North Queensland mate. See, Campo picked a weak target, and Shane Webke probably one of the toughest forwards. But he's a farmer, and he's never had a fight in his life, never. And then after that, I said, "Hey mate, if you're ever going to push someone, you got to throw punches." So then we went on a tour to England. And this little halfback pushed him. Well, he just started punching because he's a big farmer, and he sort of learned how to throw him after that. Well, the little halfback got punished, so it's sort of my fault. But Campo's a tough guy, and yeah, mate, poor old Webby that day. That's probably the only time Campo got it over him. Because, mate, I tell you what, mate, you couldn't get it over him by hitting him with your shoulder. That's for sure.
Do you know what the worst part of that is, Gordy? Is that it was penalty against the Broncos, and the Warriors got the ball.
There you go.
Hey, Gordy, I've got to ask you the question, because on everyone's lips, you've got 5 of your Bronco boys out, and we know, and you know better than everything because you've played Origin time where the baby Broncos come out and absolutely destroy teams.
Yeah.
What's it like this time of the year when you know you're losing players to Origin? And of course, it must be in your DNA now that you're coming in to do a job. Are we and should we be afraid of the Broncos tomorrow night?
Oh, look, I think so. I think any time you come up against any side, there's going to be some young kids that are going to get their opportunity to pull on the Broncos jersey. Some of them for their first time, and one of them is Wendell Saylor's son, Tristan. He's going to play fullback. He's quite a handy player, actually. So it all happened, I think, back in the late 80s when Craig Bellamy was coaching up the Broncos. I think we had about 10 in Origin, and we had the so-called baby Broncos go out there, and they won, and they beat a highly fancied, I think, West Tigers side. And, I'm excited, and I'm sure they've still got halves. They've still got enough experience. I know that there's no Reece Walsh, but they've got a great kicking game in Ezra Mam, and, Reynolds there, and, the forward pack, well, it's going to be led by somebody else. But they still got to go out there and do their job. A bit like the Warriors jersey, mate, a bit like any jersey you pull on, no matter who pulls it on, they got to go out there and represent what that club means. And, I think it's going to be a cracking game. It's probably the game of the weekend, actually.
Yeah, well, obviously the Warriors don't usually suffer too much during Origin in terms of players leaving this year, more so than anything, Gordy, with no players out. So they're able to name a side that's pretty much been on the park for the last few weeks, with a couple of exceptions. What's impressed you, I guess, the most about the Warriors in 2023, and what are you looking forward to them bringing tomorrow night?
Do you know what? Everything that has impressed me. I think they're playing really high completion football. They're getting through their sets. They're throwing it around. Just how hard they're playing for each other. And when I say hard, like like the commitment they got in their jersey hasn't been seen for the last couple of years. And to pinpoint one player, I'd have to say Sean Johnson. Normally he, I would say, like, and this is not a criticism, but it was fair to say he was maybe playing footy and it might have been for the highlight reel, and now I think he's got a more consistent game and he's playing for his mates a little bit more, But he's certainly been great. His kicking game, and I think every Warriors player is just pulling up their socks and going out there, and they look like that they're enjoying getting in the arm wrestle, and not chasing points and, just winning the little battles. And, at the end of the game, I think they've been a real surprise packet. In the papers over here, they had it's not even mid-season, but they gave them their report card and they got an A+ from like where we thought they were going to be. So that surprised a lot of people, the Warriors.
You're looking at some of these players in the forward pack. You've got Kurt Capel, who must be hurting about missing out on Origin. Jordan Leakey, who's coming home to New Zealand. Young Walters in at the hooking position. And a couple of young blokes. This Brendan Peelkutta, who we know, Australian schoolboy, goes all right, because we had one of our punters online phone us up the other day, say, look out for this kid, he can hit.
Yes. There's a huge rep on Peelkutta, and there's Hetherington, and you would have played against his father and Jason Hetherington, the guy that played for the Bulldogs. Yeah, so mate, they've still got enough talent. Mate, when Brisbane run out tomorrow night, I'm not going to go, it was undermanned. It was the best side they could put out, and they got to go out there and do their job. And that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to is, whether they can go out there and do their job.
Mate, what did you like about coming to New Zealand, Gordy? You always talk about when you're playing in that year, those early 2000s. I remember getting a message back saying, Brent Tate hated playing against Clinton Tupi because he was always coming off second best. What was it about the Warriors that you didn't like when you came down and played them?
I think physically they always stood up. Like any time you played, and I don't think I ever played an easy game, and not because I'm talking to you guys, but I don't think I ever played an easy game against New Zealand or the Warriors. Every time you went over there, you had to check your body in. And yes, we might have beat them on the scoreboard because, we had better halves and we had a kicking game and we had, a couple of centres that could score tries or whatever. But in the forward pack, it was always a bruising encounter, and you always had to be prepared to go there and, check your body in, mate. You couldn't go over there and pass the ball around and try to play fancy against them because they'd beat you. So, and I just love, because obviously it's dominated by rugby union, but just to see that rugby league had a place in New Zealand and, and to go there and the fans. And my first ever game I went there, I was playing for the Dragons, back in 1995, and then fast forward to, some of your last games, it was always a great place to travel. Wayne would always make it a weekend for us, so we'd spend 4 days around the viaduct and, going to a few of the bars and meeting a few locals. But it was always a great place to visit. The fans were always respectful. The fans always respected you, but also it was a really tough footy game as well.
Yeah. Oh, look, I think I'm fair in saying, Kempy, that everyone's second team in New Zealand probably is the Brisbane Broncos, and there's 100%. Almost more Broncos jerseys walking down the street at the moment than Warriors jerseys. It's going to be a cracker tomorrow night. Gordy, just before we do let you go, mate, just a more general look at the NRL this year. It's a damn tight comp. Look, you've got a lot of teams sitting on 16 points there, the top 6. And then just below them, there's a bunch of teams on 2 points. What do you think is going to be the difference this year? Because we're not seeing, Penrith and Melbourne running away with it. What do you reckon is going to be the difference between the team that wins it all in 2023?
Dare I say it, I'm going to throw out a cliche here. It's the healthiest team at the end. For all those big clubs, they've got to get through Origin. I'm talking about Brisbane with 5, Penrith. They've got probably the biggest body count playing the Origin, but it's just momentum. So you got to get through the Origin, you got to get healthy, you got to get fit again. Everybody's got to be mentally ready, and then probably the last month of footy, everybody's got to be fresh enough to put in a campaign where you got to win 6 games in a row. You got to go into the final series fresh and healthy, but then you got to win 4, 5 games in a row if you want to be the best side, and that's what Penrith have been able to do.
Yeah, and they have shown that over the last couple of years. Gordy, you're dead right. The healthiest team will win the competition this year. Mate, thanks a lot for what you've done with us this week on SENZ. You've got such a wealth of knowledge, and I know every time that Gorden Tallis' name is mentioned down here in New Zealand, it brings a smile to everyone's face. So, mate, you go and enjoy your afternoon. Thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon on Running It Straight.
I certainly will, Campion. I'll see you at Waiheke one of these days, hey? Me, you, and the Mad Butcher, dangerous. And it's his show.
That sounds dangerous.
What is it, mud brick, mate? Straight to mud brick.
Mud brick. Well
I'll get the butcher to organise it.
Well, I think there's another one called Man of War or something like that.
That's the one you go to.
He's been looking on Google Maps, hasn't he? He's got it all.
No. It was one of. It was my wife and I, one of our first romantic holidays. So that's why I remember, because we went up there and we got a little batch and spent probably 10 days there and just sort of cruised around the island. So what a special place that is.
What a spot.
That's the way to do it. Yeah. Well done. Cheers, Gordy. Really appreciate you coming on, mate.
Cheers, guys.
There you go. Gorden Tallis there. And he knows more about Waiheke than you do.
Mate, he does. And the good thing about Gordy is that fly on the wall, you just want to chat to him. You know, his football brain is so onto it. You know what I mean? Like when he talks about football, you listen, he makes so much sense. So, mate, he's been great for us this week. And, of course, who else better to talk to about the Raging Bull, about Brisbane around Origin time and what they need to do. So, should be a cracking game tomorrow night, Sam. Yep,
I got a lot of texts coming in on 8833. Also on our YouTube channel, so big shout out to everyone tuning in on YouTube Live, and you can post your comments there. We are looking for your best Broncos Warriors moments over the years. And any thoughts you've got on tomorrow night's game as well in Napier. No one's text through on tomorrow night's game, but we'd love to get your thoughts and how you're feeling, your confidence levels. Maybe give us a tip or two who you think's going to cross the chalk. We'll take a break here for News Sport and Weather. When we come back, we're going to catch up with Brent Tate. He's a man who's played for both teams, so very interested to see where his allegiance lies for tomorrow night. Running it straight here live from the Three Wise Birds Portside Bar here in Napier. Back soon. Welcome back in to Running It Straight here from Three Wise Birds Portside Bar in Napier. Just got a message from Brent Tate saying, stuck on the plane, mate, give me 10 if that's okay. I wonder if he's here. Is that him on the plane coming over?
Well, he wasn't on our plane, but I'll tell you what.
He does do a bit of stuff with Fox, doesn't he?
It was about who's who on the plane, and Logan Swinkle's got sitting next to Richie Barnett. Who would have picked that? It was, Awen had the Mad Butcher going off like he always does, and of course, Monty Beetham was on there with Campo, and of course Kenny Rainsfield. If you don't know who Kenny Rainsfield is, he went to the Com Games, and he's a fantastic wrestler. He actually wrestled for New Zealand for a long time. He was my wrestling coach. He's now the chairman of the Warriors alongside Mark Robinson. So it's good to see a lot of the old boys back. Richie Agar, the great man from England, has just walked into the bar. And the other bloke I walked on the plane, and this bloke yells out, he goes, "Hey, Kempy." And I went, "Hey, mate." And he goes, "Remember me? I'm Webby's brother." And it's Webby's brother, mate. He's travelled all the way from England to the game. So he's
Andrew Webster.
Andrew Webster's brother's here.
Oh, fantastic.
And he was sitting in front of me, and I said, he goes, "Mate, you've got Richie Agar's number, can you give him a call and just tell him to pick me up from the airport?"
That's fantastic. I love it.
Mate, I was doing a bit.
So you're doing a bit of Ubering, were you?
Well, I was doing a bit of concierge service as well, like a man of many trades.
Yeah, pick up the bags. That's what the muscles are for. Right, well, while we're waiting for Brent Tate, we go running through our top 5 Warriors v Broncos moments over history. We're also going to give you our Inform 17 of the NRL competition. Charlie texted that through on our Running It Straight on Wednesday, and we're going to put that together between now and 5. But let's go to our Warriors moments, Kempy, and me and you have discussed over the weeks, and we've put our little list together. So I think we've got some audio for each one as well. We're going to start with number 5, and this one probably isn't totally familiar for everyone, but as soon as you hear it, I'm sure you'll remember it very well. Shaun Johnson, and I think this was back in 2013. It was early. Shaun No, it was 2011. It was the first year, Shaun Johnson's first year at the Warriors, and he did this.
As was Alex Glenn. Maloney to Mannering. The enthusiasm the Broncos are playing with as it goes back to Johnson. And Johnson steps straight through. Support on the inside. Decides against it. But has Johnson got the legs? He certainly does. Whoa. What about that for a try?
Yep, that was the length of the field, essentially, Kemp, where he stepped through pretty much the entire Broncos defensive line. That was peak Shaun Johnson. Of course, it was 2011, that breakout season for him, but that was, when you watch Shaun Johnson highlights, that is just the epitome of the man.
And when he went around the fullback, Like he decided, and he's got support on the inside, but way he goes, and he went around, and the pace that the man had back then, I remember that try. I remember watching it thinking, oh my God, this kid is really special. So it's good to see that Shaun Johnson, all these years, is still running around, having a breakout season, especially after the COVID problems that they had, but going really, really well this year. I think he plays a pivotal part in tomorrow's game, Sammy.
Yep,
I think
100%.
The matchup with Reynolds in at half, the kicking games, you could arguably say this year, along with Nathan Cleary in the top 3 kickers in the competition, though 2 of them are on display tomorrow. So if the Brisbane Broncos have any chance, well, Reynolds really needs to step up to the plate. And vice versa, Shaun Johnson, he needs to bury them with this kicking game and the way that he's been playing and being right at the top of his game if they're to be in with a shout of taking the 2 points off the Brisbane Broncos, who are going, look, I'll take that from Gordy too. They're going all right. They've still picked a decent side.
No, they still have a very strong team, and Adam Reynolds is going to be a massive part of it. So number 5 in our top 5 is Shaun Johnson's try against the Broncos back in 2011. We'll get a couple of texts out of the way, actually. Craig, one of his top memories was the very first game. I'm sure that's going to feature on the list, Craig. The drums, the fire, the Warriors coming through the tunnel in the corner, the crowd, including young me, erupts. What a great atmosphere. Best I've ever been to. Shame the result didn't go our way, but unbelievable. Loved it. Another one here from Chris says, from what I hear from their mums, a quarter of the crowd will be extended family of Jordan Riki and Brendan Piakura coming to watch. Go the Waz. Of course, Kiwi boys, Kempi.
And Chris was on our show the other day. He jumped on in the morning and told us a little bit about coaching young Piakura. And, by all accounts, mate, I guess all the tickets that the Broncos had dished out to the team have all gone to Riki and Piakura, and they've definitely got, when you come back to New Zealand, all your whānau, it don't matter where you play,
no,
they will come.
They'll travel far and wide. Brendan's text in, enjoy the game, boys, and up the mighty Broncos. Hope the boys can get it done. I love league and watch most games, but only watch the Warriors when they play the Bronx. So it'll be interesting to see them and listen to you boys. Brendan, we would love your company tomorrow evening on SENZ. We do have the live commentary. Mark says, has Kempy had a beer yet? Been struggling to keep him away, to be honest, Mark. I've got to keep him in his seat. Jimmy says, how about Ali's flick pass to Stacey when he described it as coming out of his ass?
Yeah.
Can't beat Hitero's first hit up at 95. Head down, hair going everywhere, and straight up, no drops.
Sekapeli has seen it. He like the memories of all them hit-ups and the way that they ran. That pass of Ali Lautiti on that Broncos game gave him the nickname Air Jordan. Air Jordan.
Yep.
The likes in rugby league of Ali and the way that he used to play. I watched a lot of that last night, all those clips on YouTube, just to get myself ready for this this weekend down here. He plays such a big part through that period, Ali.
Yep.
But so do a lot of the players around him. Sione Faumuina, Ivan Tumavavi, remember that name?
Yeah.
Just the way that they put themselves into the game up against the Brisbane Broncos, who at the time, Sammy, were, mate, basically the Australian side.
Yep, they were. And iconic names that you do mention. A few messages here on our YouTube Live. You can comment on that too. Jeremy says, Tatey is a Brizzy boy through and through. That's probably where he's going to lean for tomorrow night. Someone else has said, what a man Gorden Tallis is. Finlay says, it's Kiwi for sport. Good on you, Campion Sam. You bloody good bastards. Cameron says, 2 favourite memories versus the Bronx. The first is the Faumuina over the head ball for Tuamavave to score on the sticks. And the second has to be Webke v Campo. We have Campo in the building, and we are certainly going to ask him about that very shortly. But we'll take a break here on Running It Straight. We will try and get Brent Tate on the line, fresh off the plane, perhaps at Napier Airport. We will find out. Running It Straight here on SNZ, and that is a big thanks to South Seas Healthcare, Auckland's largest Pacific wellbeing service provider. Back in a moment. Welcome back into Running It Straight, live from the Three Wise Birds Portside bar in Napier, and we've already talked about, Kempy and I, just how amazing this venue is. If you are driving around in Napier or you're hanging about at one of the hotels, whatever it might be, come on down. Plenty of Warriors here, Warriors legends too, that you might want to come and say hi to. Grab a drink. The Mad Butcher's just walked in. The volume of the place has just increased by about 10 times. Kempy.
As long as he doesn't come down here, Pete, we're not going to be able to hear ourselves.
And everyone's saying hi as well to the Butch. So come on down and say hi to myself and Kempy, as well as some of the legends that are here. We're just trying to get Brent Tate on the line. He is just getting off a plane. He might be in New Zealand. We will ask him if we are able to get him. Are able to get him. We are also going to give you our Form 17 across the competition in 2023. We're going to start with the backs. We're going to start with the backs just before 4 o'clock, and then we'll do the forwards and the interchange after 4 o'clock. But I think now, fresh off a plane, we greatly appreciate him jumping on the show. a man who has played for both teams, of course, and a man who is much loved by Warriors fans. Every time I talk to them, Kemp, they always bring up this man's name. It is Brent Tate on the line. G'day, Brent. Welcome in.
G'day, guys. How are we?
Hey, Tatey, thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon on Running It Straight, mate. Big game this weekend. 5 Origin players out, and of course we know that they're probably at their best when they've got young blokes coming and wanting to make a name for themselves. How do you see the game going tomorrow night?
Yeah, it is a big game for both clubs, mate. I think just with how tight the comp is, and a couple of wins here and a couple of losses here, obviously you go up and down the comp pretty quickly. So, look, mate, the Broncos had a rough couple of weeks, and I think this Origin period was always going to really determine how their season goes. And they've got a decent representation, on both sides. So it's going to be a big challenge for them, mate. And they're coming up against a Warriors side that we haven't seen play as hard and as resilient as they have the last couple of years. So, mate, plenty to like about this one. And as I said, big game for both clubs at the moment. For any club, and just how tight the comp is.
Yeah, totally agree. And we just had Gorden Tallis on talking to us about how these games, these New Zealand Warriors-Broncos games, just always have a little extra bit of physicality to them. Tatey, you played for both teams, mate. What was it about Warriors-Broncos games that were different to the rest?
Well, I think, mate, back in the day, when we'd playing at the Broncos and you come up against the Warriors side, mate, they were just, they loved to test themselves against the best. And I remember talking to Monty about this. He just said they always got themselves up against the Broncos, and it was always a torrid affair going over there to play, mate. It was always a tough game. You always knew they were going to be physical, and once they got a roll on and they started passing the footy, mate, it was so difficult to stop. It was just and mate, they were aggressive. They were big and aggressive and really hard to tackle and bring down. So. I don't know, mate. I guess it's just some teams have that rivalry, and there is that sort of rivalry between Brisbane and the Warriors, and mate, I expect it to be no different come the weekend.
Tatey, they always talk about the local derby for the Warriors is with Melbourne. I disagree. I think with the amount of Kiwis that live in Brisbane, and every time you used to bring the side there, you'd actually pack out with more Kiwis than you would with Brisbane Broncos supporters. Mate, that far as support goes, you play Friday night, you've got the biggest media coverage in the NRL. What do you think that's going to play here down in the Hawke's Bay at the moment with what they've gone through with the floods, and it's a sellout crowd here tomorrow night?
Oh, mate, it'll be huge. I mean, it's great for community to get out there and play somewhere different. I think when you go to places like that and you play after, where they've been affected, mate, people just love it. Like they want to get out, they want to escape reality, they want to go and watch the footy and watch a good game. And any game against Brisbane is a big game, mate. There's always plenty of media scrutiny on it. Everyone follows them, loves them, watches them. In Queensland they've got such a huge following, and mate, it'll be a big game tomorrow night. As I said, there's a lot riding on the competition for both sides. So, mate, I'm expecting it to be pretty physical, and both teams will want to. I know Kevy will have them up for this fun because back in the day he knows what it's like when you play the Warriors and they get a roll on it. They're hard to stop. So, mate, I expect this one to be huge.
Tatey, you were heavily involved with Origin for Queensland, so you know what it's like to be pulled out of your club side, but also probably to have guys pulled out of your team and go and play Origin. For the Broncos, this weekend they are missing a lot of those Origin boys, but Kemp keeps highlighting that in the past, it's allowed some of this young talent to come through and really shine. So should Warriors fans be a little bit wary about some of this young talent that's going to debut tomorrow night for the Bronx?
Oh, definitely, mate. I think what it also does is the guys that are left back there playing for the Broncos, mate, you want to lift for your team as well. You want to lift in the absence of those Origin players because you've got to, because you've got young guys coming in, you've got young guys debuting. So, mate, it is a real challenge for Brisbane, but it's a good challenge, and it's one that, if you're a good club and you've got good players in there, they'll rise to that. So 100% they should be really wary of that, especially with it being a big crowd and a big atmosphere. Mate, it'll be a big game, and I reckon Brisbane will be right up for it. As I said, I know Kevy will have them fired up and he'll be ready to go. So it's going to be, they'll be ready to roll.
Have you seen anything like it this year? We've seen close competitions, and don't get me wrong, they seem to sort themselves out as the season goes on. But Tatey, this competition, you've got 2 points separating the top 8. So you could go from 8 to first overnight. And, of course, down to 15, there's only another 2 points. Have you seen anything like it?
Campy, I've been in footy my whole life, mate. I've never seen a comp as tight as this ever. Like, it's crazy to think that, the stats that you just wrote out, just said out loud then is how the competition is. It's, mate, it's crazy to think. And that's why at the moment it's just so important for every team to be playing well and banking 2 points every week. I've never seen the competition be so tight and so hard to earn 2 points every week. Like, when I'm sitting on the sideline and I'm up here and I'm watching the Cowboys and I'm watching both teams walk off, I just shake my head and can't believe how hard teams have to work now to get 2 points. So yeah, mate, in all my time in the comp, I've never seen it, but it's it's awesome. It's great because everyone loves it, everyone loves watching it, and everyone's supporting it at the moment. Footy's in really good shape.
I'll tell you who doesn't love it, and that's Kempy's tipping competition, because he's going absolutely atrociously. But we all are, so you're even there, Kempy. Tate, just before we let you go, mate, we've been asking people for their favourite Warriors-Broncos memories over the years. It can be something that you saw yourself or were involved with. Plenty have brought up Campo and Webke's brouhaha. Some people have talked about the first game back in '95. What's a moment that sort of sticks out to you?
Mate, I've got a memory, and it is a really vivid one, but it's not a good one on my behalf because I was playing for Brisbane Broncos at the time. We played the Warriors at the old QE2 Stadium in Brisbane before we moved back to McLean Park. And, mate, I think the Warriors beat us by about 50-odd points that day, and it was just one of those days where once they started passing the ball and playing that sort of really Harlem Globetrotter footy, and once the tide turned, mate, there was just absolutely nothing we could do about it. And Ali Lawatiti was playing then, and he was just, passing balls everywhere. Like, we couldn't get him on the ground, and mate, it was just an absolute flogging. But, now that I've finished and I look back on that game and you reflect on the team that they had back then and how wonderful they were to watch, and they were the real and original entertainers of rugby league, and mate, once they got going, it was so hard to stop. So not a great memory from mine, but I was really thankful I got the opportunity to play over there, mate, because I love living in New Zealand. I love playing for the Warriors, and mate, I look back on my time over there, it's really, really fond memories, and I'm as happy as anyone that the club's going great and they're winning footy games.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tate. Look, I was at that game and it was awesome. And we love you too, mate, coming over here and being a Warrior old boy. Thanks a lot for joining us on Running It Straight this afternoon. Thanks for making time, mate. You're busy off the plane, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
There you go,
Thanks, boys.
Brent Tate.
Appreciate it.
There you go, Brent Tate there joining us. Fantastic to get him. We'll take a short break, come back with more after this. Welcome back into Running It Straight live from Three Wise Birds Portside Bar here in Napier, having a great time. Lots of texts coming in and on our YouTube channel. Simon says, hey lads, looks like you're having a blast down there. Another young Bronco to watch is Xavier Willison, out of Hamilton, been around the Broncos for a couple of seasons now. Yep, there's a very Kiwi flavour to that Broncos bench. Of course, Marty at the bow on there as well. Kempi, both New Zealand boys, and of course Jordan Riki. So very Kiwi flavour to the Broncos. And,
both can play.
Yep, and you'd expect to see a lot of Kiwi support in the crowd tomorrow. Like I said, plenty of Broncos shirts walking down the streets. Coming up after 4 o'clock, we are going to get Kevin Campion, Campo, the hard man.
Geez, you look good in that jersey, Sammy.
He's playing. So do you, mate. Your one's a bit tighter than mine.
Well, that's because you just need to do some more work.
We will relive some more memories as well. The great memories between the Warriors and the Broncos over the years. And name our Inform 17. Yep. Tina. Wow, that brings back some memories as well. R.I.P. to Tina Turner, who passed away and provided us with some great rugby league.
I've seen Campo dance to this song a few
times.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Sober or?
This one and
Never sober.
Ireland.
Oh, stop it. I'm getting goosebumps.
Now, you can probably hear from the voice next to us, Kevin Campion, sitting alongside. Great to have you here with us, Campo, as we broadcast live from Three Wise Birds Portside Bar. Come and say hi to plenty of Warriors legends in the building this evening, building towards Warriors Broncos tomorrow night here in Napier at McLean Park, a man who played for both teams, Campo. And we're counting down our top 5 Warriors Broncos moments in history. Now, we're up to number 4. And I think we've got some audio to play for you here. Have a listen.
Woochka. Oh.
That's the best part of that, Campo, is that we got the penalty.
No one could call a game better than the great Jason Costigan.
I'll tell you about it from North Queensland, Costo. But, mate, we had Gordy on, and he said, mate, he was a farmer, Webkey.
We've never been in a fight in his life.
Never been a fight in his life, and he said, if you're going to pick one, you've got to throw them.
100%.
And apparently what he said was the very next fight, he picked on a halfback and beat him up.
He got dusted a few times.
Mate, tell us about that, like back in those days, we've just had Tate come on and he said, mate, I remember you guys coming here to the QE2 and tallying us up for 50, and you go there and they come down. I remember that game, I've got a picture of it in a jersey frame where we beat Brisbane at home because it was some type of recognition of 95. Just tell us about those days, mate. The Broncos, you came from the Broncos to the Warriors. Yeah. Tell us about what it really meant to you as well when the Broncos came to town.
Well, that wasn't the first time that we had played them and beat them. I mean, that wasn't the first game that we beat them, was it?
No.
I think we beat them in 2001.
Yeah, that's right.
When I first got them. But we had a chat and you were on the coaching staff then, Kempy, and Endo was there, obviously. But we had a chat. I remember sitting with you and Endo, just say, how are we going to beat the Broncos? And we have to beat them at their own game, and that's what we did. We were physical, we didn't make any mistakes, and we just played a very simple game, and that's all the Broncos have ever done.
Yeah.
And that's why they've been so successful. They don't do anything out of the ordinary, anything out of their control, and we beat them that particular day. I remember the first time we beat them was at their own game.
I remember one time we're sitting down and you telling me about Brent Tate talking about Clinton Tupy saying, mate, he hates playing against you. You make sure that you just, you go out there and you make sure he knows he's going to come to a game.
Yeah.
And ever since then, Tate, I guarantee you, Tate used to hate coming playing against us.
I think it was more Francis Malley when, because he was he was one of those wingers that could, come off his line and make the perfect tackle and at the right time. And he probably he nearly put Tate into retirement a few times, to tell you the truth. He was, just had an uncanny knack to, come in.
Yeah, we'll keep talking about the memories in a second, Campo, but just talk to us about, me and Kempy both shared stories of coming down here to Napier. Kempy was flying, I was driving, and just sort of seeing how badly affected the area has been, with the floods and what's been taking place. So, How sort of important, you're down here, a lot of the old boys are down here as well. How important is it for the Warriors to bring a game here, and how massive do you think it's going to be for the community tomorrow night?
Oh, it's just great that the Warriors have decided to come here and give back to the New Zealand people. And over the last couple of years, due to COVID, we've been stuck in Australia, and it's just great that the Warriors have decided to take their games all over New Zealand, and they've got great support. I've been sitting here having a few beers with just the locals here today, and they love their rugby, first and foremost, and that's the national game. But
you're being very PC here, Campo. Okay?
Campo's never PC.
No, but
never.
Things are starting to change.
Yeah.
We all know rugby's a boring game.
We do, mate.
Don't we?
Yeah.
We all know rugby.
Don't say that. Wayne's listening.
We're not doing a 2-hour show on Super Rugby.
I tell you, rugby in Australia is a boring game, that's for sure. And that's why everyone's turning to the league. Everyone's turning to the AFL. They're just exciting games, and people want to see excitement, and, the Warriors are, playing some exciting footy.
Yeah. Mate, I got to tell you, me and you have such a fantastic relationship from our time when we were at the Warriors. You're my first assistant coach. When they said, who do you want as assistant coach? I said, I want Kevin Campion. You're coming out of those playing days, and you're in charge of defence, and just because of the way that you used to get the boys up. Mate, this new role, this ambassador role, what is it? Like, do you get a chance to actually sit in there, and do the boys actually know what Kevin Campion brought to the Warriors back in those days?
I think so. Look, I think, and it's not just from Cameron George has a lot to do with it. He's bringing all the old boys back, and I was, brought into the side last year just to show face and talk to the boys, and and just generally chat to them. And that's when Brownie was coaching. So then it transitioned to Stacey at the end of the year, and more than happy to come in and just be a sounding board to Stace, and more so just just to have his back, and if he just wanted some advice,
mate,
just have a chat.
Do you remember when they weren't listening to you? Like, do you get a chance to say, man, I'm sick of being PC, I'm actually going to go and tell this guy up?
Back in the day, I used to just I cruelled some.
You did.
A lot of players' careers, didn't I?
You did. Which is fantastic, because at that time we needed it, and they all responded, which is really important.
And the great thing about it, when we were playing there, everyone responded. So look, I came from the Broncos, environment, and I knew how to win. I knew their bloody formula, and it worked. I don't know if it would have worked at any other club, but it worked here when I first got here.
For Warriors fans, Campo, it's been a pretty lean sort of 10 years from that grand final in 2011. Of course, only one finals appearance in 2018. Cam bringing a few of the old boys back, do you feel like maybe there was a period there where maybe we lost a little bit of that Warriors identity, and now sort of bringing you guys back in and some of the other staff they've put around the team, it's bringing a little bit of that sort of Kiwi Warriors flavour back into the side?
Yeah, 100%, exactly what you said. But, I think most clubs these days are doing it, bringing their old boys back. I was fortunate enough to play for a lot of clubs, 6 clubs in total. But the most special time that I ever had was over here at the Warriors, because we went from cellar dwellers to premiership. We were premiership favourites.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable in a 2-year span. So my favourite memories, and I played 80 games at the Broncos and won 2 premierships, but I would love to see the Warriors bring that trophy over the Tasman.
I know, and we know, mate, that they don't want that to happen. No,
I know.
It's a tough one to talk about all the time, and you're trying to be sort of have a little bit of a these half and half type scenario where you're thinking about, maybe they do want us to bring it back here. But, mate, do you think with the competition going this year, and I was just talking to Gordy about it, like, it's so close, mate. Like, you've gone from, you've got to be in the 4 to win it, and is it too early to be talking about, well, I think this year's different. I think if you make, because I'm starting to think, if you make the 8 this year, because it's so close, you're a chance.
Yeah, you could win it for 8, 100%. I think everyone's just gone back to the drawing board and concentrating on really basic football. And the better teams with the better, obviously the better skilled players are winning, like Penrith. But they base themselves on their defence. The Warriors have based our season on our defence. We're really working hard for each other. From 1 to 8, you never know.
No,
anything could happen.
That's only 2 points in it.
Yeah. What about off the field, Campo? What are you seeing from the team this year? Because obviously on the field they're humming, they're hissing, and they're having fun, they're enjoying it. What are you seeing off the field around the club?
Well, I just think it's the same atmosphere off the field. I think the boys are enjoying being around each other, and they were last year. Like obviously the boys are based in Redcliffe. I would go up there weekly. And walk around and talk to the boys, but it was doom and gloom.
Yeah.
And it showed on the field. We would compete. We weren't competing for 80 minutes. This year we are. Last year we were competing for 40 to 50 minutes, and we were still getting beaten.
Yeah, and it's a horrible, mate. You're saying that, it reminds me of 2004 when I took over. We'd go good for 50 minutes, and then we'd struggle for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Mate, your little mate Stacey, he's gone back to assistant coach. He's a champion. We had him on breakfast show this morning talking about what they need to do to win down there. How was it for him last year? Like, how much support did you wrap yourself around Stace, knowing that you'd played with him, and of course the trials and tribulations that he was going through?
Yeah, it would have been hard. Look, he came in after Brownie moved on, and it would have been hard. And the season was basically gone anyway, so he was just a interim coach, just trying to get through the season. But I think he did a wonderful job. He's a good, everyone respects Stacey Jones, and the player. You could see the players; they wanted to win for him, but we were burnt out because a lot of those you had players there who had signed for the Warriors who'd never been to New Zealand.
Yeah.
it was just ridiculous.
Yep.
You know, they never experienced it, and that was a great thing. I loved New Zealand when I lived here because I loved the people. I loved living in Auckland. It was just a beautiful place to live, and you know, they never got to experience that, which is so sad.
I can tell you tomorrow night, half of the Broncos roster, this will be their first game playing in New Zealand. So we've got that going for us as well. Before we let you go, Campo, two ones for you. So we've obviously talked about the brouhaha with Webkey. Any other memories that stick out for you? Broncos Warriors games over the years? Anything that sort of jumps out?
Well, I think that first game that when we beat the Warriors, that was it was a tough battle. It was a battle. And the place and Mount Smart, I think we used to call it Ericsson at the time, but it was packed, and there was no way we were not going to lose that night. And that was an amazing night when I think Stace kicked a field goal to win it.
13-12.
And it just went off. And it was, the crazy thing about it, like, you win those games, you celebrate those games. And I had to put a drinking ban on us. Would you believe? Anyway, so we've rocked up the next morning for our recovery at what was it?
Campion Pools.
Anyway,
nearly got me sacked.
Unbeknownst to us, Eno's brought out a breathalyzer.
Oh,
remember that?
No.
He's put out a breathalyzer. Jason Deeth, he's blown 1.3 or 0.0 or 0.13, like it's 5 times the limit. And we're going, how the hell did this bloke get to the pool?
No, how the hell did this bloke get to the pool? I got called into a meeting and I just about lost my job because I let him jump in the pool. It was, mate. Those were fantastic days, Campo. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Before we let him get off, tomorrow night, prediction?
Oh, mate, you know, these are one of the games. It's a funny one, this one, because, you know, the Broncos have got 5 out with the Origin, and we're expected to win this, but the players can't go with that mindset, you know, we're going to win this. They've just got to go back to what they've been doing all year, play really hard footy and just work hard for each other. Mate, I think we'll beat them. I think we'll beat them convincingly, but
I feel the same way, and I dead set believe, you know, the way that they're playing consistently over 80 minutes is really now a trait where people are starting to stand up and look, and that's why I asked the question about the top 8. If you finish in the top 8, the Warriors finish 8, no other team wants to play them.
No,
especially if they get a full-time roster.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, no, mate. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Great for New Zealand.
I know you're joining us tomorrow. I know we're doing a podcast, me and you. We're going to do a fly-on-the-wall hour together. So, mate, all our listeners will be waiting to see that one.
We're talking about Nathan Woods, aren't we?
We are. We will. We'll talk a little bit about Woody and plenty more, too, from our times here at the Warriors. But thanks a lot for joining us.
My pleasure, boys.
There you go. Kevin Campion there. Great to have him in the building and to have him jumping on the show, too. Awesome to hear his thoughts. We've got another legend lined up, Awen Guttenbeil. He's standing just off to the side here. So we're going to take a break. When we come back here on Running It Straight, Awen Guttenbeil, the man himself, going to be in the chair with us. Yeah, all the way back in 2001, Awen Guttenbeil joining us on the show. Awen, 6 years it took us. 6 years it took us to beat the Bronx, and I believe in that year as well, Kemp, you might be able to. I think they'd only lost 1 or 2 games heading into that round. I think it was round 8 or 9, and they were flying high.
They didn't want to come. They didn't want to come to us because they knew what we were up against, and we absolutely bashed them that night. I remember, Lan, you'd remember too, got that photo of us all sitting down there. Finally, we've got that one over.
Yep.
How special is the Bronco game to, I guess, not only the Warriors but New Zealand public, because they're arguably the second most followed team in New Zealand?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they were always the benchmark and the pinnacle for us coming in as youngsters. The Broncos were always that team that always set the bar high. All full of Queensland representatives, so everyone loved Queensland as the Kiwis because they were always winning. So, yeah, coming into that, it was like, man, this is the level that we need to get to prove it that we're worthy enough to be in this competition, and actually that we were a good footy side.
Yeah, and so what do you remember? Do you remember much about the game back in 01 and Stacey hitting the field goal with about 6 minutes to go, I think it was?
Yeah, look, it was one of those games that you run out on the field and you could just feel it prior to getting out there and crossing that white line that today's our day. Like we just had a self-belief that we were going to beat these guys, and on the field we were 100% certain that was going to happen, irrespective of what stage in the game. And then when Stacey slots that field goal, it's just like we knew this was happening.
Yeah, it's sort of I take that game as one of the defining moments in our time when we were together at the Warriors, where we actually grew up that night. We went, man, we can actually go out there and do some great things. And of course, then we go on this run, and the next time we go to Brisbane, we beat them by 50. But when you look at this side compared to that side, I've said, Owen, with Webby, he's a redhead. He reminds me a hell of a lot like Ando. Do you see similarities to that 2001 side?
Yeah, Stacey's probably the same weight as you were when you were assistant coach too, mate. Loves a pint and a home brew. So very, very similar. But you're right. You're right, and I think the approach that they're taking, they've had to strip things right back, and it appears that they've worked really hard on the team dynamic and the culture and actually understanding the fundamentals of the game, and they've broken it right down to game by game. We're going to come out with a game plan to beat this side, as opposed to we're just going to go out there and play the Warriors brand of footy. So I see some real similarities, and you can see it in the culture of the side when you talk to the boys. I get a sense that they've fulfilled, they're learning, they're growing, and that's only making them better footy players and making them want to get out on the football field and play. Yeah.
Talk to us about the origin period for Warriors players and Kiwis players. Do you guys get, or did you get like a little bit of a lift knowing that these teams were depleted, or could that have been a little bit of a danger at times, thinking that things were going to be a little bit easier for you?
Yeah, well, there was many years in my career at the Warriors that we did well and we didn't do so well, and I think the ones we didn't do so well, we probably took it for granted, that this is going to be easier, we're going to roll out there. I think when we were doing extremely well with growing as a team and trying to earn our place within the side, that totally changed. And it was more about, I've got to turn up and deliver because I want to represent myself for this team. And there's a real trust element when you've got a real good winning culture and a success environment. And I think they've got that now. So I wouldn't think that they are looking at the fact that the Broncos are down a whole lot of players and thinking this is going to give us an edge. If anything, they'll be analysing, here's some weaknesses because those players aren't there, let's target those areas, as opposed to let's dial it down a bit and we'll just cruise home to victory.
Mate, how good has it been, one of the old boys? Not like the first thing I can see is you're back together. You got yourself, Monty. Tukes is on his way down. He's staying in Wellington tonight. We're meant to have him on today. Campo's in there. You've got Richie Barnett in the background, wanting to be a Warrior, but he's a Rooster through and through. What's it been like being like, because I love it. I love how the old boys that got us there in the first place are now back involved. What has it been like mixing with those boys?
Yeah, it's really nice, and I've got to take my hat off to Cam, that he's actually taken that approach and wanted more players from the past to be around the playing environment and the group, just so they understand where the club's come from, connect with the past, in order to understand who we are, what's our identity as a club. And then it's always great catching up with the guys, and Monty and I driving from the airport, we're just talking about how long it was when we were playing, how long ago it was, and it seems like yesterday, seems like other times it seems like it never happened, and it's pretty special though. Those bonds never change, and particularly the bonds when you're in a successful side, because you do anything for your teammate on that field, and you had 100% absolute trust that they were going to do the same, and you just don't lose that bond. Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear. Just before we let you go, Owen, the game here in Napier, I'm not sure how many games in your time were sort of taken away from Ericsson, but when you were able to, I guess, get out and around the country and realise that rugby league is big all over New Zealand, what does it sort of mean to play a game outside of Auckland and some of these regional parts of New Zealand? Yeah, it's I guess the first time you do it, it's a little bit of a novelty. But the guys are used to this. They travel a fair bit. I think the key for this game down here in Napier is the fact that the boys will be playing for Tohu down here. They had a really special day yesterday, going out to the marae and appreciating a little bit more of who Tohu is and what he plays for. Awesome, and I think that's going to really drive the guys. And I mean, what he does on the football field, I'm sure the guys are going to try and repay his whānau when they're here playing in their hometown. Mate, I've never said this to you before, but I just want to thank you very much, and especially you and your old man, because deep in my heart, that very first game that I got to coach, it was your old man that helped me get you up for that game against Canberra, which was my first game out, and we won. And it strategised about who was the person who was going to speak to the team beforehand. So
just on behalf of me, mate, thank you very much. Make sure you share that with
will
your
do,
dad. I'm very close to your family, as you know, with your brother.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, thanks a lot for joining us. And I know you've got plenty on today as an ambassador down here with all the Warriors whānau. Go and enjoy the weekend, man, and especially enjoy the old boys. I can't wait to catch them for a beer.
Oh, good. Just before we go, like, how much are you going to sell this one? Trade me for?
He's still got the tags. He's still got the tags on the jersey.
Hey, Cam, George, it won't be sold. Don't worry.
There you go. Awen Guttenbeil joining us there on Running It Straight. We'll take a short break for news, sport and weather. Back soon. Mike's on, we're told. We're back here at Three Wise Birds Portside Bar in Napier. Beautiful location. They got great pool tables. They got dart boards. They got homemade cider. Well, homemade cider. Their own cider made on tap. Plenty of TVs for sport, memorabilia. It's a fantastic bar if you can find your way down here. If not tonight, get down here tomorrow night for the Warriors game. Now, we are counting down our top 5 moments of Warriors Broncos history. We've done 3. Sean Johnson's try in 2011, Campion Webkey's fight, the first one against the Broncos in 01. We have 2 more to go. We will reveal one of them very, very shortly, and the last one just before we head up to 5 o'clock. We're also going to name our 17 informed players of 2023, myself and Kemp. It's an exercise we've been doing
wait to see yours
over the last couple of days. Well, I know you've had a look
None
at mine and copy and
informed,
pasted.
you know that?
Yeah, no, but you've copy and pasted it because you were looking over my shoulder just in the last air break. But what we're going to do now is a man who came down and look, he's one of the most passionate Warriors supporters I know, Kempy. It's Zane the Warriorholic. Now, you hear him a lot on SENZ. He rings in, he texts shows. He's a great fan of ours. But he also has a great YouTube channel, The Warriorholic, with plenty of analysis. I think you had Jazz Tavanga on recently as well, didn't you, Zane? So that was an awesome interview. Go and check that.
Oh, mate, crazy.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little head-to-head between you and Kempy here with some Warriors trivia. It's pretty tough as well. It's pretty tough as well, so I don't think Kempy's going to do any good. But, Zay, mate, just talk to us a little bit about yourself and sort of, I guess, how the fandom began and how it's developed over the years.
Yeah, mate, so I'm originally from Upper Hutt back in the day, Upper Hutt Tigers, man. So obviously used to be a Balmain fan when they first came on TV over here. We're actually in the video
just
shops.
Just liked orange. You liked oranges.
Oh, Morven Edwards went to Mardybank High School, primary school where I grew up as well, so had to support them. And after they Warriors came in, mate, had to patch over straight away. So I was a vicarious follower from Japan, mate. I was in Japan from 1995, so Mum used to send me over the games on VHS.
Yeah.
That's how I kept into
Watch it delayed.
Yeah, mate. So
and how's it sort of, I guess, developed for you over the last couple of years? Now you're sort of doing your own YouTube channel and that, things sort of ramped up a little bit over, say, the last 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, well, to be honest, mate, I only really started this at the start of this season, and last year, like going through that whole COVID period, there's a lot of negativity going around about the Warriors, particularly online, and I used to try and filter it out and counter it a bit. No, bugger it, I'm going to set up this
That's hard.
Oh, mate, I tell you. I set up this persona, and I'm going to be the flag flyer for positive, balanced Warriors passionate supporters, and sort of launched it at a perfect time this year with the boys going so well. So it's nice to sort of get into it. And the fun thing I like about it is you watch a game on game day I've walked out of games at half time and had to go and cut down trees. I've been so so stressed. But then you go back and watch it a second time after the game to do your analysis for the YouTube, and you see things you don't see live. And you get a real appreciation for the little hidden arts that you might be critical of a player until you really watch them. So that's been the most fun thing for me, and that is sort of just providing that positive vibe out there for everyone.
Yeah, love it, mate. Did you want to say something, Kevin?
Well, if you let me, like you've obviously been putting up with this, negativity over the last 3 years. Some of it has been warranted. Let's be honest. But what has it been like jumping back on the bandwagon this year and seeing everyone else that has been those, I guess, negative, and I'm one of them, negative profilers jumping on with you?
See, the thing is, like, you were critical, but I don't think you're being negative. You're doing it from the heart, and you're doing it from a relative place of experience and knowledge and things you genuinely believed would make the club better. What I had frustration at is people who get absolutely aggressive and personal about the players who are humans, mate. Sure, they're getting paid good money, but that doesn't mean that they're our property. So they were the ones I was trying to counter. And, I was critical. There were things last year I didn't understand and still don't understand related to the lodge issue and those sort of things. But I feel what I'm happiest now is that they've Cameron George and that have stepped back and let the coaches become the face of the club. And for me, that's just, as a fan, that's what I want.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. All right, boys, so I'm going to put you to the test, Zane. I'm going to say, so I've got 5 questions. I'm going to say if you get 3 out of 5, we'll hook you up with a bonus bet. If Kempi beats you, then he'll give you $50 from his own TAB account. How does that sound, Kempy?
Well, yeah, I've always been stitched up by Sammy, so no, he likes to take, he just doesn't like giving.
Okay, so here we go. So I'll bounce forward across who gets to go first. So question number 1, who has scored, so put your thin caps on for who has scored the most tries for the Broncos in a single match. Now, he scored 5 tries in a single match for the Broncos. Kempy, I'll let you go first on this one.
Oh, I'm going to say Willie Kahn.
Zane?
It's not Willie Kahn. I can see his face, mate. Is that guy they tried to put into second row a couple of seasons ago? What the hell's his name? Oh, mate, I can't think of it.
Got Willie Kahn. I'll give you a hint. He wore the headgear.
Oh, the Pearl.
Steve Renouf.
Well done. So I give that to Zane?
No, the Pearl.
The Pearl, come on. Everyone knows who the Pearl is.
Who Ellery Hanley.
I'll call it a tie for question 1. Okay, I'll call it a tie. Question number 2, we'll start with you, Zane. Who was the highest capped Kiwi playing for the Broncos? He played 285 games for the Broncos. Kiwi man.
Oh, I can see his face too. Glenn. Alex Glenn.
Kempy?
Yeah, Alex Glenn.
Zane's correct. Alex Glenn. And he went first, so I'll give it to him. So he's up 1-0. Kempy, it's back to you now. It's back to you.
Good North Shore boy.
Now here's a good one. In 2013, Kempy won't get this one, don't worry. In 2013, the Warriors beat the Broncos 56-18, right? That's the biggest, most points we've ever scored against the Broncos. Manu Vatuvei scored a double, as well as 3 others. Can you name one of the other 3 that scored a double when we beat them 56 points to 18 in 2013?
Oh, okay. No, I can't. But I'm going to go James Maloney.
Zane, you want to have a crack? Well, there you go.
Joe, stop it, Joseph.
No, I'm trying to think of it. Was it Wade McKinnon?
No. Let's say Glenn Fisiahi, Conrad Harrell, and Thomas Luluwai. All double try scorers. Yeah, so Zane's still up 1-0. Back to Zane as well. He gets a chance to go 2-0 up here, Kempy. Who has scored the most points against the Broncos in Warriors history?
I have to say Stacey.
Kempy, sticking with it?
Sean Johnson.
Kempy's got one back on you, Zane. Here's Sean. So here we go. Here's the deciding question. This one's hard as well. There is a man who played for both the Broncos and the Warriors. He was a part of the 2011 Warriors team that went on to play in the grand final. Didn't play in the grand final himself. Also has the record for most tries across the 2 teams head-to-head. Can you name who it is?
Kemp?
Dean and Kemp. That's what Zane's going with. Kempy?
It was a centre. He went up and played for up in England. Oh, his name's not Dean and Kemp, and I can't remember his name.
I don't think if you can't give an answer, I think I win by default.
Oh, but I can see his face.
Yeah, that's me.
Do you know what? I think I am by default going to give that to Zane, Kempy, because you can't just say a guy played up north and expect to get the points. So I'll give it to Zane. Sean Berrigan.
Yes.
Sean Berrigan. Is that who you're thinking
of? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, me too.
I purposely made it difficult for you both. But Zane, mate, it's awesome to see you down here. It's great that you've come up for it as well, based down in Wellington. What are you up? You came up today. You're flying out Sunday, I presume?
No, mate. Drove up all the way. Yep.
Mate, he's from Upper Hutt, mate. The Tigers.
Upper Hutt.
Adrian
you can't. I know. I can't confuse those
Mike
two.
Kawiti, Morven Edwards.
Yeah, mate. Sidu, all the boys.
Sidu, that's right.
Yeah, mate. No, drove up.
How many times did Renwick beat them?
I don't think they ever did they?
All the time. All the time.
Awesome. Hey, just quickly, Zane, your favourite Warriors-Broncos memory in history? Anything stick out to you?
Mate, that'd have to be the first game, surely. Mate, I was at the Totra Lodge in Upper Hutt there, for a large part of
that game. Does
Fliss
still own that place?
Oh, mate, I've got no idea, mate. I'm living in Parapara these days. But, yeah, mate, I sit in there thinking we had that for a while. The bloody Broncos, mate. How many times have they done that? It's a happy memory, but, I was all in from that night.
Yeah, nice stuff. Well, appreciate you coming on, Zane.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy the game tomorrow night, mate.
Cheers,
we'll catch up a bit later on. Just before we get to the break, we're going to go through our number 2 moment of our top 5. So our number 5 was Sean Johnson's try in 2011. Our number 4 was the Campion Webkey fight. Our number 3 was the first win against the Broncos in 2001. And this one, a fan favourite, everyone remembers it, is our number 2.
Now they can't handle the ball. Toppy gets it away. Now it's gone back to the 16. They're playing basketball. Oh, this is rubbing salt into injury. Kilmababe, the youngster, number 15 has scored. Salvawina, he's threw a pass, the like of which I haven't seen. This is fantastic.
Good.
It's great to watch, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, Rab's at his absolute best as well, Kempy. I mean, everyone we've talked to keeps bringing that one up, whether it was Tallis, whether it was Brent Tate, whether it was Campo, or even Awen off here. I mean, that epitomised to me, and that's why it's number 2, it epitomised to me that era of Warriors Rugby League.
We were sitting in the stand, me and Ando. Of course, back in those days, you had to sit in amongst the fans.
Yeah.
So me and him have got walkie-talkies, and we're talking to the players. And I remember we were just on absolute fire that day, and the crowd looked like it was a Warriors crowd. There were that many Kiwis in there. And when that try happened, honestly, we looked at each other because we knew it was coming. We just knew that there's something special coming. And that try, which has been played over and over again, it sort of epitomises what that team was about when they got some belief. And like I was saying at Awen, I think that first time we ever beat them, like there was such a big push that week on, we haven't beaten them before, like this is our opportunity, we've got the team to do that. They went out and won that. I'd say that it was probably this Brisbane game was probably the most defining time of the Warriors, because they then went, mate, we're actually here. Yeah. We've arrived.
No,
I watched that one. I listened to it. I just get goosebumps, mate, because I remember sitting there with Ando going, well, we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, no, fantastic play. We might see a little bit of it tomorrow night, maybe. We'll wait and see. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Kempi and I, thanks to Charlie who texted through on Wednesday on Running It Straight, we're going to run through our informed 17 of the competition, and we'll round out our show just before 5 o'clock with our number 1 Warriors-Broncos moment in history. Stick with us here on Running It Straight. Thanks to South Seas Healthcare, Auckland's largest Pacific wellbeing service provider. Yeah, welcome back in. Running It Straight, a 2-hour special here at Three Wise Birds Portside Bar. It's a great location. Building up towards Broncos v Warriors at McLean Park tomorrow night. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Now, we got tasked on Wednesday from a listener, Charlie, to come up with our informed 17 of 2023. And I like the informed part, Kempi, because you're not just going to put guys in there because they're superstars. We're talking about guys that are legitimately playing the best rugby league in 2017. Now, I know you've looked over my shoulder a number of times, so you've copied what I've got. Let's start with the fullback. Who have you got in the number 1 jersey?
Well, there's only one fullback in the competition at the moment, and he's playing in the centres for New South Wales this weekend. You know who that big boy is. Latrell Mitchell.
Oh, okay. I've got Dylan Edwards. I've got Dylan Edwards as the number 1 fullback at the moment. He leads the comp in metres.
He's actually number 4.
The number 4?
Well, you've got to
fullback.
guess. You've got to
guess.
guess.
So you're not picking on form. You're not picking on form. You're picking on name. You're picking on name.
No, I'm not.
Trebojevic, you're saying he's the number 1 fullback in this year?
No, I'm not.
Better than Dylan Edwards?
No, I'm not. Did you not hear me? I was saying Latrell Mitchell.
But you're saying he's better than Dylan Edwards?
Well,
Tommy Trebojevic.
Did you ask me? I said Latrell Mitchell.
Here we go. So he's going Latrell Mitchell. I'm going Dylan Edwards. Right, give me your 2 wingers.
Well, I'm going Selwyn Cobbo.
Yes.
Yep. And the other one I'm going is Brian Tor.
I could see Brian Tor. I've gone Alex Johnson.
And Alex Johnson
I don't think there's been genuine, outstanding wingers this year. I think they've all done their job well and they're scoring tries, but I think you can interchange a couple. Like Mulatalo, you could probably put in there as well.
He was my 3rd choice.
Yep, so there you go. In the centres?
Campbell Graham and Stephen Crine.
Yep, we tick a box there. Campbell Graham is the best centre in the competition at the moment in my mind. Your 6 and 7 should be pretty straightforward as well.
Well, I've gone Nathan Cleary for number 7, but I've gone Cody Walker for number 6.
Okay, I've gone Cam Munster. And
of course you have.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's playing solid football. He's not.
But he's not the form 6.
Well, I'd put him up. I'd put him close.
Cody Walker is the form 6.
Yeah, I guess you can make an argument for both. Okay, give me your front rowers.
Payne Haas.
Yes, sir.
Aidan Whanua-Blake.
Yep, you have been looking over my shoulder.
I have not.
What about your hooker?
Well, my hooker is Damien Cook.
Really? And he's 100%. Not even an Origin?
No. And I question that with Brandy. I question that with anyone that wanted to talk and say, how can you leave Damien Cook out? He's been the form hooker of the competition this year for South Sydney, and they've left him out.
I can see Izzy Daggs just wrote you a message saying, can you two stop complaining? I do feel like I'm sitting next to my wife. Who are your second rowers?
My second row.
I had Harry Grant, by the way, as hooker at the moment.
Well, you could throw Harry Grant in there. I was never going to throw Hunt in there. Second row, I'm going David Fafita. I think he's having a standout season. Obviously, starting in the Maroons on Wednesday night. And Khalif Kafusi.
Okay, interesting. I've got Ola Kawatu because I think he is having a great 23 amongst the side that's not doing very well.
That's your favourite side, Manly.
And your 13?
Oh, I've gone Tuha Harris.
I've gone Isaiah Yeo. Give me your bench quickly.
My bench, I've gone Dylan Walker.
Best 14 in the competition.
Marata Nukore.
Yep.
I think he can play in the middle. Pat Carrigan and Joe Tarpany.
I've gone Walker, Flegler, Carrigan and Hines.
My team smokes your team.
I disagree. Okay, quickly, really quickly. We've got 30 seconds. I'll quickly go through mine. I've got Edwards, Alex Johnson, Stephen Crichton, Campbell Graham, Selwyn Cobbo, Cam Monkster, Nathan Cleary, Adam Whanua-Blake, Harry Grant, Payne Haas, David Fafita, Ola Kawatu, Isaiah Yeo, Dylan Walker, Tommy Flegler, Paddy Carrigan and Nico Hines. Your 17 quickly.
Well, I've gone the big boy at the back for South Sydney, Selwyn Cobbo, Campbell Graham, Stephen Crichton, Brian Tor, Cody Walker, Nathan Cleary, Payne Haas, Adam Whanua-Blake with Damien Cook, David Fafita, Felice Kaufusi, Tor Harris on the back, Dylan Walker, Marata Nuakore, Pat Carrigan and Joe Tuppen.
Okay, text us through 8833 who you think wins that contest and that competition. We're going to take a break.
Down.
We're going to take a break. Come back with more after this. We are wrapping up here from Three Wise Birds, Portside Bar in Napier. Warriors, Broncos tomorrow night, live from McLean Park. We've got build-up from 6 p.m, kick-off at 7:30. Kempi, it's been a great show chatting with some legends.
Absolutely. You reckon I'll get on the field if I keep this jersey on?
Take the price tag off and you might get on there. I understand your wife's watching it as well. And I just want to ask, is he like this at home? Is he always arguing and always, being a pain? Look, we've got to count down our top 5 moments in Warriors Broncos history. We've gone through some absolute clangers over the years. There's been some great rivalries. We expect nothing less tomorrow night as well. But as we say goodbye to you this afternoon and hand over to the run home, there really is only one moment, isn't there, that sticks out as the greatest moment between these two sides. And for that, we take you back to 1995.
So the Warriors now with Alexander. Calling the tune! Taiwan! Taiwan comes inside! Oh, great ball! Blake! Phil Blake! He gets the try! But Taiwan! What a